Welcome to episode 2 of the BA Coach's Show. Here I am, the BA Coach. I do have a few exciting things to announce. We've got some big episodes coming up, including this one. I think this episode right here is going to be fantastic. I know we've only done 2, but this is by far so much better than the last one. But I do gotta say, dude, anyone listening to this, May and June are loaded. We got great shows coming up. Got to record them still. I got guests lined up. You guys are going to kill it. Got some big names coming. Not going to spoil, but got some big ones ahead. A special episode is coming on this Thursday. So when you're listening to this on Sunday or Monday, whenever you listen to it, Thursday, we're doing a special episode for the NFL draft. I'm going to come out with a little mock draft, but since the Q&A segment did so great last time, we're going to do another one. So special episode Thursday. I'll be solo, but it'll be NFL draft and the Q&A segment. But we got big news. Here we go. Don't have to do these things for free anymore. Exciting news for any Paola Chamber members or any local businesses. Are you ready to elevate your brand with stunning headshots? Join us on Tuesday, June 11th at Cafe Latte for a special photo shoot event with Brooklyn Harmon Photography. Get 3 to 5 professional images for just $35 and enjoy $1 off your delicious Cafe Latte meal. But you need to hurry, spots are limited, so book your slot now and refresh your marketing content library in style. There we go. But today's guest, I'm very excited to have. I've known him for literally about 15 years. Head soccer coach at Paola High School, one of my best friends in the world. Yes, killed it today. Trevor Gallagher. Welcome, Trevor Gallagher, to the BA Coaches Show. How are you doing today, man?
Oh, pretty good. It's been a great day. How you
Yeah.
doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I'm very excited to have you on this podcast. Because not only are you someone I want to talk to for the great coaching journey you've had, you've also been one of my best friends for 15 years at this point. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
good to
crazy.
I know it's good to be able to have a little sit down talk with you. But I'm honestly not just having you on because you're my friend. I actually think you have a very interesting coaching journey, and I think this will be good for some of the listeners to go to. Normally, a lot of the guys and guests I'll have on this, podcast are going to be, football guys, right? 'Cause that's obviously me. But you're kind of gonna have some different perspectives because you're a soccer coach, right? But you're a head coach, and
Yes.
you're still a pretty young head coach, right? Are you
Yeah.
24? You're still 23, right? Or are you 24
Yep,
now?
I'm still 23.
You're still 23. That's what I thought. I knew your birthday was after mine.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're 23. And we won't go into all the details about, that wild season that you became the head coach because, a lot of behind the scenes stuff. But, I mean, how old were you when you became the head coach?
Oh, I think I just turned 20. Yeah.
That
Or
was my guess was
I
20.
might have been 19. Yeah, 19 or
Yeah,
20. Yeah.
19, 20, and you went from being the assistant coach of your alma mater soccer program that you played for, right?
Yes.
You accept that
Yes.
job, you're an assistant coach, and about midway through the season, you get elevated to head coach, and it's like, oh boy, this is a big shift because now you're the guy, you know? And
Yeah.
as someone who wants to become a head coach one day, that's one of my goals, is to be a head football coach or just a head coach in sports in general. I don't envy you just randomly waking up one day and being the head coach halfway through the season. So
Yeah.
obviously you've
Yeah. It was
gone
just
through a
a
lot
phone
of
call.
yeah, right.
I was like, oh,
Obviously,
cool.
yeah, yeah. Obviously you've gone through some of that, coaching journey of that. How would you say that you are a better head coach today? What 3, 4 years later, as opposed to when you first got that phone call and you got to make it through the second half of the season as the head coach.
Yeah. First, when I first started, I knew some stuff, but just knowledge and experience, just from learning day to day every year, off season stuff, um, during season, how to deal with certain situations, how to coach in certain situations. It's been crazy. It's been a lot of knowledge thrown at me. I've had to attack each practice and game and based on like the attitude of the kids, and every day, especially for the first 2 years, were just like completely different because I was kind of guessing. Like I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what works,
Yeah.
this is what doesn't work, and it was hard to. I would say like last year was the first year I kind of like felt settled in, and I was
Hmm.
still there was a couple days that I'm like, okay, what do I do in this? And then asking around coaching, like um, I've asked multiple coaches in the league, out of league, at just other sports, and they've gave me a lot of advice, and it's been really nice to have. Um, but that just the knowledge and experience of like being there and knowing what to do in certain situations has made me a better coach than when I first started.
Yeah. So this is kind of an interesting question I have for you, kind of based off that. Okay, and I want an honest and open answer here, and I am in no way judging you by your answer here. But do you think you were ready for that position when you took it?
Oh no, I was not ready. There was no like I was kind of like that first year, like I was kind of like, okay, I'm gonna learn some stuff, like maybe give it a
Yeah.
couple years, and then like if things happen, go get a head coaching job. Like, but I wanted to learn a lot. But no, I had no experience of even coaching. Like I coached rec
Yeah.
ball, like, and so it was just like I was like, okay, but um, I honestly I wish I could have learned from somebody for a couple years and just like
Yeah.
learn how they attack, like how they went after each game and how they did
Mhm.
setup, how they did warm up, stuff like that. Just because it would have prepared me a lot better. But no, I was not ready.
Yes, so that's kind of what I was, thinking. So, as someone who one day I would like to be a head football coach, right? And just
Yeah, yeah.
after spending, some time in Gardner and seeing how great like Coach Owen does in Gardner, and now being in Spring Hill, this will end up being my second year in Spring Hill, seeing all the really cool like behind the scene like team building stuff that Coach Feedback does. He does a really great job. I'm very grateful for spending time around that. You know what I mean? Like I had an idea of some things I want to do when I become a head coach one day, but now seeing a lot of that stuff like in person, it's like, oh, this is really good stuff to learn. And I'll be real, I'm probably going to be stealing stuff from both of them whenever I do become a head coach one day. That's what I was thinking. Is like you had like half a season,
Yeah.
to really
I
get that
think it
figured
was
out.
5 weeks of an
Yeah,
assistant coach,
yeah,
and
that's
it like
crazy.
I it, learning things is the best. I mean, learning everything is great, and
Yeah,
so especially looking at somebody who kind of knows what they're doing is just really as beneficial to have, especially when it's not even about like the practicing and what they do like during practice stuff like that. It's like all the other stuff, all the off season, and getting ready for game day and team
yeah.
development stuff like that. That's what I've learned a lot in the past couple years
Yes,
now.
the last year, the biggest thing that I think I've picked up from being in Spring Hill is how important just the team development side is, especially like during the off season type of thing. And that's something I've really picked up on. It's something I don't want to say like I didn't, fully appreciate, but like I have a new appreciation for it. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so one of the questions I had written down for you was, what advice do you have to someone who's about to become a first time head coach in any sport? Or like someone who wants to become head coach one day. Like myself, I am going to be listening to your answer here.
Yeah, for sure. uh, honestly, wait for the right opportunity. And know what you're looking for. Like, if you want to go into a coaching situation where you're going to build the program, that's like hasn't been good for years, and you're like, I want to build that program. That's what I want to do.
Mm,
Know what you want to do with that. If you kind of want to sit back and kind of take over somebody that's had a more winning program and just kind of keep that and work off of that. That's awesome too. But just know what you're looking for. It's not a I actually have down. It's not a bad thing to be an assistant for a couple of years, just so you can kind of
hmm
sit back, learn, and then look around and see all the different opportunities that may come up. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, another thing is always be looking at what the head coach is doing, like in game, out of game, what they do after the game, like when they watch film, like how they watch film.
Hmm.
what they do in the off season, how they build up the team, everyday practice. Like if you're not doing that and you want to be a head coach, you're gonna have a rude awakening when you're getting to that position because it's it's a lot more than what people think. People just think, oh, they just go out to practices and games. It's not. It's a lot of
Yeah.
time off, off the field and away from people. Like I can't, I can't imagine how many people like what or how much film a lot of coaches watch. Like I know I watch a lot, but just how much people watch. Like it's probably up to hours and hours each day.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, thank you. That was a really good answer. I was, you know, and a lot of that is some things I've heard, but that was, some good. One of the things that I've always heard about, hey, if you want to be a head coach and you want to be a good head coach, right? You want to make the most impact. Don't just accept the first head coaching job just to become a head coach, right? And that's something I've heard a few times, and I feel like that's probably how you feel as well. Um,
Oh, for sure.
so that, yeah, like I said, that was a really good answer. Okay, I have a couple more questions for you, and this is kind of different than the other ones. Of like, this is more about getting to know you as a person a little bit, right?
Yeah,
One of the
yeah.
questions I had written down was, what inspired you to become a coach? Because here's how I'll set this up. I've known you for, like I said, almost 15 years now. We started playing rec league Myola basketball together, and we were
Mhm.
like 10, 11 years old, right? So I've known you a really long time, and and when we were in high school, we were in the same weights class. You're my lifting partner every day. So we got to know each other really well throughout high school as well. And I think we both knew, even as like freshmen in high school, like, although our journeys have been very different, we've still we've known that, hey, we want to be coaches one day. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
so what inspired you to become a coach? Cause I've known you for a long time and you've always wanted to be a coach, but what got you to want to become one?
Well, like first, I knew like I wanted to be one. I mean, just from kind of what you were saying, just wanting to be a part of a sport and being able to lead kids and stuff in the right direction and stuff like that, and then always being part of the sport is just what I found awesome to do.
Hmm.
Um, and then coaching like Myola, like I love doing it, especially with you. Like it was a whole lot of fun.
Dude,
I'm just like,
we had so much fun coaching that Myola basketball team. That was
yeah,
honestly, the stakes were obviously much lower than like the high school sports we coach now, but we had so much fun coaching 5th and 6th grade basketball. That was one of my best coaching experiences of my life because those kids were so much fun and we could just let loose and be free. And they were some weird kids, they did some weird things, but we loved them. And that seriously, that basketball season that we coached rec basketball together is one of the best coaching experiences of my life.
oh, for sure. I agree. Like, and that's really like what motivated me, like to become like go in and try to get a coaching position somewhere else because it's like if I can have so much fun doing this with so much younger kids at a high school level, we can have a lot more fun and um
Yeah.
and so that's one of the things. And also, I mean, I'm gonna shout out to old Coach Trost. Like
Hey,
this
there you
is
go.
going back. He was soccer coach back when I was in high school,
Yeah.
and my soccer coach, he like, I mean, watching him and how he handled every moment and how he expressed himself, it was just like sometimes I was like in the moment it was a little too much, but like how he was so motivated and passionate, I was like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And then actually, at our senior or at our banquet at the end of the year, he like said he told me in front of everybody, he was like, you're gonna be a great head coach someday. And that's just really like stuck with me. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
really? Somebody like sees something. And so
Yeah.
and then like the opportunity came up a couple years later. So
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So kind of like you, I guess I'll kind of also throw my little answer out there because
yeah, yeah,
hey, we're talking sports, right?
yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
part of what inspired me to also become a coach was kind of like you of being like, I knew so my football playing career ended earlier than I wanted to, right? I wasn't I wasn't ready to be done with football, if that makes sense, right? And I'm still not ready to be done with football, even like, however many years later. So my football playing career is done, and I knew I wasn't done with football, right? I still wanted to be a part of, the sport. I love the sport more than anything. And I love locker room, like building a team culture. I love being part of a team so much. And I knew I wasn't done with that. And so that's kind of what got me decided. And I decided at like 16, 17 years old, like, hey, I'm not ready to give this up. So got me kind of like
Yeah.
you. I started volunteer coaching and doing whatever I could to make it happen. I was coaching sixth grade football when I was 17, and I've been coaching football at some level ever since then. So, what also inspired me to become a coach is honestly a lot of coaches I had before, like coaches that I had, right? We had
Mhm.
some good, some bad. Some bad coaches also kind of lit a fire under my ass. And, I knew that I mean, you know this, you guys, and you know me, anyone listening to this will know that's known me for a long time. They've known I have an interesting life journey to get here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
for sure.
I knew that I could use some of that adversity, we'll call it, that I had gone through. As a younger version of me and use that to lead, young men in the right direction. Um, and
Yeah,
that's
for
part of
sure.
that's what kind of inspired me to, want to do this. And, part of my personality is being able to sit down with a kid and be like, hey man, you really messed this up, but I've been there and we can work
Yeah.
through this. And
Then
to me,
like
there's nothing
knowing
you
that
can't overcome,
experience.
you know?
Yeah, yeah. Having that
Yeah.
experience and telling them that is just like they. I feel like they look up to you just like by that. They're like, oh yeah, you do know like what I'm talking about. You've been in this situation,
Yes.
and so it's that is one of the best ways. And so I'm
I
glad
think
that
being
you.
able to remind my high school football boys that I was also, at one point, a very dumb young high school boy
Yeah,
went a long way. I think one of the coolest experiences of my entire life was last season, right before we played our hometown, the school you coach at now. Uh, right for the like night for the game or whatever, being able to. They were all sat in the bleachers, just telling a little bit of my life story to those guys, and the way that they rallied behind me. That's why I coach. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Being able
yeah,
to share some good things, some bad things. Was a little bit vulnerable with them in some spots. And the way they responded to that was like really good. And I knew like then and then after the game, all the boys fired up for me. I was like, this is why I coach football.
yeah. Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. I
yeah.
remember you telling me about that. And, I mean, it's awesome that they did that for you. And
Yeah, it was like I said, it was one of the coolest experiences of my entire life. Um, I will be hopefully very old, laying in a hospital bed one day, dying, and I will look back at the first time I coached against Paola and the way those boys rallied around me. I'll
yeah,
remember
good,
that forever.
good times, good times.
Right?
Yeah.
um. So another kind of coaching question for you: what do you believe sets your coaching style apart from some other coaches? Right? Because I do think you have an interest, not like interesting, but like I think your coaching style is a lot different, and I think that's part of because like your first couple years, like you said, you were super young, still trying to get things figured out. And the little bit that I've seen you coach and coach, a little bit with you of just like, hey, you're pretty transparent with your players. So what do you
Yeah.
think sets your coaching style apart from other coaches?
Uh, like you said, I'm pretty laid back personality. Like I'm just like, but I always want the best out of everybody. So it's just like that. Um, how we like how I go about that, like just being laid back, like, but I'm wanting them to just work hard and go after every day, and then also just being straightforward with the kid. Like if they're doing something wrong or right or whatever, I'm gonna be straight up with it. I'm gonna tell them exactly how I see it and what I want them to do, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just I from what I've been with in the past, like growing up, like there was coaches who they wouldn't tell us anything. Like I don't know, like, and I get it's
Yeah,
different coaching style, but they would just yell at you and then saying that you're messing up, stuff like that, and then they want to tell you how to fix it, and you're just like, oh, okay, I got it.
I'm with you. That's the coach that I strive not to be. And again,
Yeah,
like there's many different coaching styles out there, but it didn't
yeah,
resonate with me. And so I tried to be I try to not be that, you know? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so I think just being like 100% straight up with every kid on the team,
Yeah.
and they want that. They're out there working, and wanting to work hard. Um, and so if I'm not telling them everything that I'm expecting from them, they're not going to give me everything they want or everything that they can do.
Yeah.
So I think that is one of the best thing um, that sets me apart from other coaches. I've seen a couple other coaches, and some do it and some don't. You can kind of see
Yeah.
the personalities of all the kids after they are corrected. And then
Yeah.
like I try to build a relationship with every kid. Like at the beginning of practice, I try to give them fist bump, high five, like, "Hey, how was your day?" Stuff like that. Are you ready to roll? Just kind of get that first relate, like that be that first person positive in their life coming into practice, because I don't know how their day went. Like I want them to give me 100% at practice, and if they had
Mhm.
a terrible day, at least I'm doing something better for them and stuff like that, and then they see that, and it usually makes a lot of practices and games go better. Just
Yeah. So
being,
something to kind of piggyback off that a little bit. Something that I stole from one of the first football coaches I've ever had in like 4th or 5th grade football, Doug Stotts.
oh
I
yeah,
still talk to him a lot, and he told me this, and ever since he told me this when I first started coaching, something I take to heart every single day of just us being guys, right? Sometimes with some of our players, we're going to be the only positive male influence they're going to have their entire day, their entire week, maybe their entire life. You know what I
mm-hmm.
mean? Maybe their dad's not around, or hey, I'm just going to say maybe their dad's not a great person, right? You know, like just
Yeah,
sometimes we're the only positive male influence they're going to have, so make it count and take that personal. You know what I mean? I think if I really think you can't be a successful, whether head coach, assistant coach, or volunteer, whatever. I don't think you can be a good coach if you don't truly love your players. I think
oh for
you
sure.
can maybe win a lot of games. You can maybe win a lot of games if you have the best players, but you're not going to be a good coach. Does that kind of make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I agree with you completely. Like, and then like making them like being able to have a conversation with your kids too. Like if they just want to talk
Yes.
about not like in my instance, not soccer, not football, just like talk about their day, talk about big game of something else coming up, like talk about the Super
Yes.
Bowl or something like that. Just being there for the kids, and they really look up to that. Like, and so it's just that positive um, figure in their life that they need and they want. So that's
Yes. Outside of like practice, game, whatever, I try
mhm,
to talk to my players about anything but football, if that makes
exactly.
sense. I want to get to know them as a person. Hell, I want them to get to know me a little bit as a person. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
For better or
yeah,
for worse, But I want to be able to have some sort of connection with them because, like I said, if you can't have that connection, I just don't see how you can be a successful coach at the end of the day. Like I said, you can win a lot of games, but hey, obviously wins and losses matter, but our jobs are a lot more important than wins and losses.
exactly. Yeah,
We're
I
impacting
agree.
lives
Hmm.
overall.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so one of the other questions I had is, I think we kind of touched on that a lot, but like, how do you motivate your players to perform at their best? Especially like you said, even if they, do have a tough day. Like, hey, let's just say we coach high school sports, right? A lot of hormones going on, right? Math
oh
tests
for
might have
sure.
math tests might have just ruined their day and they got nothing. You know what I mean? So like,
Hmm.
how do you get that out of them? Because some days are just not their days. But hey, at the same time, it's game day.
Yeah. This actually has been one of my biggest struggles, like as a coach. Like
Hmm.
I have really tried many different ways, and a lot of them have not worked. Like it's a
Hmm.
trial and error. Um, it's like you're just trying. You're how I feel like is if I can motivate myself after a hard day, why can't you motivate yourself? Like that's kind of like my thought process. But it's like
Yeah.
I get there's a lot of things that are different in life and things going on that I don't know. And so like this year I'm trying something different. I'm going to kind of have the team sit down and set goals for the team for individually and
Hmm.
individually and as a team, and maybe even like not even soccer related, like maybe like life goals, like put down a life goal. What do you want to be when you're just kind of, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be exactly to um related to soccer, but then they can just look back on that and just be like, oh, I'm doing like I want to be better individually. I want to be better as a team, stuff like that. That's going to help me motivate each day. And then um also asking them, why are they playing? Like if they're just playing
That's a
to
good one.
go out to like go out and play, like great, like that's awesome. If they want to play college, like that should help motivate you. If they just want to come out and be a part of a team and have some fun, okay, let's have some fun. Let's work hard. Let's do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I think that will really help, like motivate the kids. Like just say, like ask them those simple questions, like why are you guys playing, like, and then have them set goals for the season.
Yeah.
And those are the things I'm going to try this season. What do you think about those? Like,
Hey,
it's
I
kind of
think that's
just
pretty good.
yeah,
I think that's some really good stuff. I think getting to know, like, hey, why do you play this sport? I think that's a really good thing. And it gets you another like foundation of like getting to know the player. Something
yeah,
that I have struggled with. I think a lot talking with a lot of coaches. I think they also struggle with this at some points. Is like I've noticed for like a Friday night varsity game. For I'm just talking football, for instance, right?
yeah, yeah,
You know,
for sure.
Friday night lights. It's super
Mhm.
easy to get all these kids motivated, right? But like those Monday afternoon, Thursday afternoon JV or freshman games, especially those road games, you get on a bus, you get off the bus, you're getting ready to play at 4 o'clock. And I know soccer, you guys do this even at the varsity level. And it's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
getting that weird getting that motivation can sometimes be tough. And I know that's something a lot of coaches have struggled with because I've talked with other coaches being like, "Hey, anytime that I have to go take my, 14, 15-year-old boys, get them on a bus, go drive an hour, get off the bus, go sit around for 45 minutes.
hmm,
Just tough to get them going, for a game."
yeah,
Um so that's something that I'm also trying to work on as a coach in general because those things are kind of important to get going. That's where I'm struggling, and I'm kind of with you in some ways of being like, man, in my instance, it's like, hey, it's football, let's go.
yeah.
Like, how are we not hyped up to play?
Exactly. Like
And
go
I
out and hit
understand why the
somebody.
Friday night lights motivate everyone, but to me, it's like, hey, man, I would do anything to go play another middle school football game, man. you know.
Exactly. No, I agree. Like, I mean, going out and playing, being able to play again, like, kind of do anything to do that. And the kid, I mean, they don't understand, especially in the moment, but
Yeah.
getting them to be motivated and wanting to play stuff like that, I mean, it's a struggle. But I hoping and looking forward to seeing if it happens, and I'll get back with you if the happens and if it
Hey,
motivates them.
I'll let you know if I get it figured out too.
All right, there you go. Maybe we can swap ideas again.
Okay. I had a few of them written down, but I kind of want to skip ahead because this is going great, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Um, this is one that I'm very curious of as a head coach because I've seen a lot of different, head coaches go through like big, stressful, important games, right?
Yeah.
This is You've been through a couple seasons as a head coach now. You've had a couple playoff games. How do you handle the pressure and stress during important games as opposed to, just a normal I mean, hey, I don't want to say no. I'm not going to say they're not all important, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say here.
No,
The the Tuesday afternoon against against a team that's not very good, whatever, not going to be as important or as stressful against the playoff seed against at your home turf against
mhm.
number 3 team. What those are big important games. How do you handle that
Yeah.
added stress?
Yeah. Like this one's kind of another one. Like it's like I've learned how to handle it. It's been, I mean, the first couple of years, I was like, what's going on? I'm nervous. I'm shaking, literally shaking out on the field, like on the sideline. I couldn't imagine how the players are feeling. But
Mhm.
it's, I've kind of like made it the mindset of made it all about the mindset. Like, what am I going to do before the game? How am I going to, like, what am I thinking? How am I going to motivate myself? How am I going to motivate the team? And I think it's all about mindset going into the game, and then how you warm up. Like if you have a good warm up, it's going to help out like the beginning and the whole game. Just like eases the pressure. It's like this is another game. Just like having that good
Yeah.
warm up, the good feeling, and so um, those are the mindset and the warm ups. I think are the two best things that you can do to help regulate the pressure that's about the game. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think one of the biggest things that we've done is in the past, like almost acknowledge it's a big game, but still treat it like it's any other game, if that kind of makes sense. Like
yeah, for sure.
I think if you just completely ignore it, right? So like, for instance, when I was in Gardner, right? I think if on that state championship game run that,
Yeah,
everyone was on, if Coach O would have just been like, "Oh yeah, this is just another game." It's like, "No, we win this game." Like Gardner Edgerton High School is going to be going to their first 6A football state championship ever.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I like?
Crazy.
Or like, hey, and it did in Spring Hill this year. I know it didn't end up working out our way. I get it, but like before the Lewisburg game, like, hey, this is the Frontier League championship.
Yeah, like
Like
this is it.
you almost have to acknowledge it a little bit because then it's just a big elephant in the room. But also throughout the preparation and warm-ups, you still treat it like any other game. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, you treat
Like,
the week of like it's a
yes,
regular game, like the practices, the going into it. But yeah, it's a hard thing to do.
yeah,
So
it's a hard thing to balance, but I
mhm.
really do truly feel that if you're just one of those old school guys that are just like, oh, treat it like every other game, like yes, treat it like every other game, but at some point, it's you kind of need to throw that out to your players. They're like, hey, we know this is a big game, but we've played however many football games, how many soccer games before, you know.
Yeah,
This is our home turf, or hey, we're going into their house. This is a big opportunity for us, but I just feel like you acknowledge it while not throwing on a whole bunch of extra pressure, if that kind of makes sense.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No,
yeah. So a question I had for you: what's a coaching moment that has had a significant impact on your career so far?
so this one, I couldn't really. I don't like thinking about it. I don't know of a specific moment, but I've coached now for a couple years and seeing the development of like my kids from freshman year to senior year, or I have a couple kids that just from this past year, I've seen them a couple times this spring. It's like the development that what they're putting into the off season and how their games turning into has really like um it's made me feel like I'm doing something right. Like seeing them
Yeah.
do different drills and stuff like that, and they're just getting it down is like this is awesome. Like the coaching, I would say probably the best coaching moment I had to make something would probably be our first win of like my
Hmm.
very first win as a head coach. Like I still remember the day and what happened, like everything. Like
Yeah.
bus ride home was awesome. Like it was just a great experience. But overall, I think it's just seeing the kids develop from freshman year to senior year is just one of the best things that I've seen kids do. Um,
Yeah.
what about you? Do you have one yet?
I'd say probably the one we kind of already talked about impacted me the most was just this year I mean after just the Paola game of just like all the
Yeah,
emotions of just being like, hey, getting a team to rally behind you is a really cool thing. And hey, whatever it takes to get the dub, if I have to get the boys fired up by telling them a bit of my life story, I'll do it every freaking time. You know what I mean? That was a really big moment for me of just
yeah,
being like, because I'll be honest with you, throughout that week, like I knew I was going to talk to the boys, for the game, but I didn't know how
uh,
they'd respond to it, if that makes sense. 'Cause I've never like given a ton of those. Like I've obviously talked in front of the teams like pretty much every day, but just be able to like be honest and open with them about my feelings towards a lot of things or just tell them a little bit about me. I had no idea how they were going to respond to that. And I knew they were
exactly.
responding well before that. I wasn't sure how it was going to translate, but just knowing after the game, however many people, all and we had dang near half our team like just come up and like shake my hand. You know, like that was a really cool thing. That's something that will always impact me as a coach because I know it made me realize that I have something inside of me that can get, you know, my players
Yeah.
fired up. I have that ability to get a team behind me. And that's something just I hadn't had that experience yet. You know what I mean? So that was something that I thought was really cool to be able to experience and show me that, hey, I can do this, you know? I have a
Yeah, for
future in
sure.
this a little bit. I can get the boys going, you know?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's awesome.
Um, yeah. Something that some people might, I mean, I feel like a lot of people would know, but Pale Soccer is going to have a girls program next spring.
Yep.
That's
That's something
that's
I've been
exciting
working on.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, and I know you've been working very hard on that behind the scenes, and I'm very proud of you for being able to get that done. You know, I know you can't say it, so you know what? I'm just gonna say it. It should have happened a long time ago. But hey, it happened now, and it's all good, right?
Yeah,
But
for
you're
sure.
starting a new program, and I know that it's probably not like official yet, but you're the head girls soccer coach, right? Waiting on board approval. There's no reason why that's not gonna happen. I'm just gonna throw it
Yeah.
out there, right?
Yep.
Um, so you're in a very unique position that I'll be real. Not a lot of high school coaches get the experience of doing nowadays. Just being in the year 2024, like there's not a lot of new programs that come around. But you are in a unique position of you're going to be. I mean, you're basically starting a program, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you approach developing a winning culture, especially in like that first year? Because like who knows? I think I think you can have a winning culture without winning a ton of games right away. Is that if that kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, it's
But
really hard to like go out and have a lot of wins like starting out because you just like
yeah,
you get and for soccer, I think you get in the spring 9 practices or 8 practices, and then you get thrown into games. And so,
yeah,
um, so it having that first year, yeah, I know it's going to be hard, but I know we can do it.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I'm really excited for you to be able to do that. You
yeah,
know, I feel like that's going to have some new sort of challenges throughout coaching. I mean, dude, I think that's pretty big stuff though. And like I said, like you're in a unique position. Like again,
yeah,
in this day and age, like there's not many new programs out there. You know, like
yeah.
you don't have a lot of schools adding things, if that makes sense.
No, I mean a lot of teams already have all their sports and stuff like that, and if they
Exactly.
add a sport, it's individualized or
Yeah.
so it's not really as a team. Something that what's gonna I think set our team apart from a lot of teams that's starting is we're gonna have set core values. Like I've had the benefit of kind of building the boys team, and so I kind of know kind of the feeling of how to build a program and having the
Yeah.
core values on a team and um, implementing every practice every day in the off season. Like we're doing off season training right now. We're gonna do summer, fall, winter stuff with the girls and just implementing core values, getting as all the practices that we're able to do this whole for the
Yeah.
next year. Um, those are going to be like the start of the program, and but the core values. I mean, them just having the mindset of like, okay, this is the team. This is how we're going to attack each day. Um, is going to be, I think, what sets us apart from most teams that start a new program.
Yes. Yeah, I think that'll be great. And I think that you are gonna do a great job with that because obviously you didn't build the boys program. I'm trying to figure out how to word this in the best way possible. But
Well,
the team that
I'll
you
tell
have
you our
the program
numbers.
that you have now as opposed to when you started is night and day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like when I first started with the boys, I think it was 7 boys and like 5 girls on the team. We had a 12 players total. I think that adds up. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so like that was my first year. And this year I just had all our meetings. It's looking like we're gonna be close to that 30 on just boys. And we lost almost 10. I think we lost 10 players due to seniors and not having girls in the fall. We're gonna have almost 30 boys for this next year. Like instead of
And
just
that
building
is,
over the years.
yes, that is awesome. And that's what I mean. Like, and again, I'm not trying to bash on anybody before you, but like the program you inherited is not the program you have right now, you know? And I think that's
No,
more of a, that's not a shot at anybody. That's just more saying how great of a job you've done on,
well, thank you.
you know,
Yeah, it's been
getting kids
a lot
out
of
and
work.
getting people invested in soccer. And I think a lot of that comes from like you investing in like the rec soccer programs, or coaching or refing like middle school soccer, or like running all those camps. Like, shoot, I don't know anything about soccer. I came and helped you with a camp a couple years ago. And
Hey, yeah,
and I think that's the type of stuff that pays off, of being involved in the community, you know what I mean, and getting
oh, for
kids interested. And I think something you do a really good job is, um like with your youth and like middle school camps, having your high school players there, being the head
mhm.
coach running everything, and get if you can get it in those kids' head. This is something that, I think it goes a really long way. Whatever sport you're trying to, recruit kids for. Of like you, for example, you have these, 8-year-old soccer players knowing in their head, when I get to high school, I want to go play for the high school soccer team, right?
Yeah,
For us over in Spring Hill, our youth football camp and our middle school camp that I'm in charge of running this year, one of my biggest goals for this middle school camp is like, I want every single kid at that camp to come out of it knowing I want to play for the Spring Hill Broncos when I'm in high school. I want to be a part of that Bronco football team. And I think that's something you've been developing in Paola, of getting those young kids playing soccer down at the rec soccer field, saying, hey, in 6 years from now, I want to go play on the high school soccer team.
yeah, yeah. I
And I
mean,
think
that
that's
was
something you've
one
really done a
mindset
really good
thing.
job with.
Yeah, thanks. Like going when I first started, like I just knew like we're not too far from the city, but I'm probably not going to get a lot of city kids coming down. Like I got to invest in this rec program and see
Yeah.
and help develop kids. And I mean, doing all the camps, like you were talking about camps. I think that first year had over 100 kids. Um, and then this year, I think we're projecting around 120 kids from third through eighth grade. Like, and I'm partnering with the rec to help me, and
Yes.
I help them
Yes.
to just do everything um, throughout the whole spring season, just showing up to things, having
Yeah.
teaching coaches like I've done in the past.
Yes.
I had like a coaching seminar where they just came out and they learned a couple drills that I'm like, hey, this will help develop
Yeah.
these things. Like, and just that hard work in the community is, I think, is really paying off for both programs.
Yeah, I really agree with you as well. As we kind of get to our last couple questions here, how do you balance the demands between your coaching life and like your personal life? 'Cause I'll tell you before you answer, I personally this is gonna sound stupid, but just I struggle more with it out of season than sometimes during the season. Because during football season, I am so into it all the time. And like, hey, Hannah's great. She knows that I'm gonna leave early and I'm not coming home till late at night. Friday nights, I might not be home till 1 or 2 in the morning. It just is what
Yeah.
it is. And she knows that when I do come home after practice or after a JV game or after a freshman game, I'm exhausted. I want to eat. I'm going to talk to my kids for a while, and I need to go to bed because I'm waking up early to go do it the next day. Right. So I don't do a very good job of balancing that. But then, like, when it's not football season, it's like, oh crap, I have a lot more extra time and I really gotta take advantage of it. So I know this kind of sounds dumb, but I struggle more with balancing it outside of football season, because during football season, I'm just like in survive mode when I'm not coaching. When I'm coaching, I'm thriving, I'm having fun, but then by the time I get home, I'm like, whew, I need to recharge because I'm doing this again in 8 hours.
Literally, yeah. No, I had that same feeling. I completely understand. Like it's always been hard, and I've worked like I have made sacrifices both for soccer and for family. Like, and like Kyla's been great too. She's like, I remember there'd be some days where I come home and dinner's on the table, and then I eat dinner and we go to bed. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of how it goes, and it's tough. And even like off season, like trying to like get kids out to do stuff in the off season and stuff like that. It's like you're not. I know this is um some like probably she doesn't want me to say, but she's like, "You're not in season. What are you talking about? What do you have to go out and
Hey,
do something
trust
in the
me,
off
I get it, man. Trust me, I get
Yeah.
it.
And so it's just like something that has helped a lot is making like set times for everything. So like,
Hmm.
and especially in the off season when like it's important, but if I say, "Hey, I'm going to be done at 8:30" or something like that, I'm done at 8:30. It's not 8:45 and we're still wanting to do stuff. It's set times like we're going to do this and this from this time to this time, um, and then I'm going to be home, stuff like that. And I have
Yeah.
really made it a priority to try to be home as much as possible, because I mean, like love the wife, love the kids, like got to make sure we balance everything. I know, like this fall might not be as hard, but next girl season might be a little harder. Make a little announcement. Having another one. So it'll be probably here in a little like around December area. So next girl season for the first season, I'm gonna have another one crawling around or rolling around. Probably not crawling by girl
This
season.
is
So
what Uncle Ben wants to hear.
there you go. So yeah, that's gonna be a interesting thing next year. I know we had Malin in the season. It was September. It was mid season. There was long
Yes.
nights. There was nights where I think there was a period of time where I didn't sleep for like 48 hours or something like that because we had
Trust me,
up all night
I
and then
get it.
game day and then coming
I'll be
home.
real with you. I am so jealous that you're going to have a child not born like as your season's starting because my two boys were born on August 26th and then July 16th. Right
Yeah,
as
it's tough.
I'm getting real deep into football season, I
Yeah,
have these children born and I love them dearly. Wish they were born at a different time because
yeah, yeah.
man, I'll say coaching has never been better because I'm not as sleep deprived and trying to balance everything. Like I know like of something that we struggled with like when my boys were born is like, hey, like both of my boys ended up sick and in the hospital for a few days and I'm like, dude, how do I do this? You know? Like I
Yeah,
have a kid in the hospital and I have a game in a couple days. Like what do I
exactly.
do? You know?
Yeah.
So the balancing that's very tough, but we make it work. And I think, I'm not going to get all soapboxy here, but I feel like having a supportive spouse is key to that.
Oh, for sure.
Having a spouse that is completely on board and bought into the program as well.
Hmm.
Something that we always say, so something that we always preach to our Spring Hill football boys is, our brotherhood and being all a part of that. The joke I always have, and I say it with the coaches or whatever, is anytime Hannah does something all in, I always say, Hannah's all in for the brotherhood. She's sacrificing for the brotherhood. It's kind of a little
There you
joke that we have going, or whenever she'll kind of give me a hard time about like, hey, you have to leave at, 6:15 for speed and agility on Tuesday. I'm like, hey, you need to be more supportive of the brotherhood. Let's lock in and let's go. you
I'll
know
make sure to use that excuse.
hey, that's kind of what I throw out there and it normally gets a pretty good laugh here. It's us be like, hey, come on, we gotta support the brotherhood, what are we doing?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's awesome.
uh, yeah, okay, so I think I have two more questions for you today.
Yeah,
What do you believe is the biggest challenge facing high school soccer coaches, or you can just make it high school coaches in general, whichever one you think's easier?
yeah. I think honestly right now, like, and I for probably smaller programs, just getting kids out and wanting to play. Like, I think there's a
Mm-hmm.
mentality right now with kids that if they're not the starter, if they're not doing all this, they're just gonna quit. And it's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
go out and work. Like, put in the work. If you're not the starter, that means you're not good enough right now. Like, you got to beat who replaced you. And so,
Yeah.
just the mindset like of kids not wanting to play because they don't get what they want pretty much, and it's really hard because coaches kind of have to balance that, especially in small programs. Like, they gotta be like, well, I need
Yeah.
numbers, so we gotta like figure something out. But and then for bigger programs, I would say not everybody's the star. Like, you got to work as a team. Like, I
Yeah.
know I've talked to coaches up in 6A level, and they're like, all these kids, they play club, and they're the star player on their team. And then when they come here, they think they're still the star. And it's like, yeah, you're a great player,
Hmm.
but we're a team. We got to work as a team. You're not going to be able to go up against another 6A school that's having the
Yeah.
same skill level as your team, stuff like that. So those are the two things that I think are the hardest for facing any. I mean, for that was kind of for soccer, but for kind of any sport. Like, I mean, if you have a football kid that they wanted to be starting quarterback, and you're like, you're just not good enough right now. You got to go out and work for it.
Dude, trust me, I get it. I remember one of my previous coaching stops, coaching middle school football. We had actually, for especially for the school we were at, we had a decent team, right? And a few of those kids were like, "Oh, I'm not going out for high school football." We're like, "What? Like you're our starting running back?" And they're just like,
Yeah,
"Oh, well, I don't want to play JV next year." I'm like, "You're a freshman next year. What do you mean you don't want to play JV?" Like, and just
exactly.
that kind of mentality of being like, I think that is legit a struggle. And like you said, just getting kids out sometimes can be a whole thing. But I'll never forget having a conversation with a kid being like, "Oh, I don't want to play JV next year." I'm like, "Dude, you're gonna be 14. What do you mean?"
Yeah,
Like,
you're gonna go. You're not gonna want to play varsity, especially as running back against 17, 18-year-olds. You're gonna quit the
yes,
first day. Like,
right. Yes. So it's just that kind of. I don't know. It seems weird. And I feel like it's kind of a. I think to say kids have changed is definitely a fair statement, but to me, I feel like a lot of older coaches kind of use that as a cop out because to me, I'm like, hey, kids change. We as coaches got to change a little bit.
oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
Adapt and
agree.
survive. That's something that I think is really big and sometimes gets lost upon. Adapt and survive. Kids have
Yeah,
changed. We gotta change as well. But I don't think there's any denying that kids have changed even since we're not even that old.
I know.
We're not
Like,
even that old. And some of the
it's only
things
been
that
like
I'm like,
5 years or
you're
six
right,
years.
dude. Yeah, I get it. I get it. It's crazy. Um, so last question I had before I let you go here. This is a deep philosophical one, I think.
Yeah.
What legacy do you hope to leave behind as a soccer coach?
So like, I've always thought about this. Like, what do I really like want from coaching? Like, just in general, like, what? Why am I coaching? Kind of thing. And what the first thing is just like being able to provide a like kind of being able to be there for the kids like at all times. Like I know if they just want to just hang out, stuff like that, like we'll go out to the field. Like just like having that relationship with all the kids is one of the biggest things. Like I don't really focus on the wins and losses. Um and I don't think I will never focus on the wins and losses. Like no matter what happens in the career, like yeah, it's great to win, but it's all about the relationship that you build with the kids and how you like make them as human beings because 99% of the kids aren't going to go play professional. Like, and
Yeah,
so it's like, how are they going to be productive people in their community? How are they going to look at you in um, when they get older, stuff like that? And so, like, it's just having that relationship, and then also this is kind of just throwing out for soccer is how like this is kind of just for the payola mindset is
yeah,
how I built am going to build both programs. Like it's kind of just like take like I mean for the girls taking literally nothing and turning it
yeah,
into something an opportunity for girls to play and hope and for all time like being able to have that opportunity for to give girls to play is something that I want to leave that legacy for all the girls to come, especially my girls if they want or girl. I don't have two girls. They want to play. Um, um, I, later in life, they get the opportunity if we choose to if we're still at Paola stuff like that. So,
yeah.
um, do you? Here, I'll ask you a hard question. What legacy do you want to bring?
I've thought, I've also thought about this a lot, and it's something I think about like almost every day. Something that I want to, and especially, I mean, I try and do it now, but especially by the time I get to a head coaching position one day, is I want to make sure that I want them to enjoy having me as a coach, I want them to, I don't want them to look back and have it be bad, but I don't want it to be the highlight of their like life, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I want to set them up to do bigger things in their life. I obviously want them to love every second they spend with me, right?
Yeah.
And I want them to look back at me, I was the best coach they ever had, whatever. But I really want them to say, he set me up to go do this in life, whatever they go and achieve, right? Something I say, so
Yeah.
I coached middle school basketball this season, right? And you know what? I'm just coming out and say, our record wasn't very good. Okay, we had, I think we won like 3 or 4 games. It is what it is, right? And some, obviously some of the kids got down, but I'm like, hey, here's the thing. No one cares in the real world here. No one cares how your middle school basketball team did. Let's be real. No one really cares how your high school football team or how good your high school soccer team was. You're
Literally.
not going to sit in a job unless you're going to, like, I don't know, somewhere. I can't think of any reason you'd be sitting on a job interview one day. They're like, oh, how good was your high school soccer team? Oh, you guys weren't very good. Sorry, you're not getting the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nobody cares
And
about like the wins and losses, but they care about like the attitude the attitude that you're going to bring in. And I think the
yeah,
sport, like all sports, help develop that. Like,
yes.
what attitude are you going to bring into working with me? What skills are you going to have? And I think all sports, playing in any type of sport, will help that um, for their
Yeah,
future.
something that I think about as a coach is I want my players to be able to one day and someone ask them like, "Hey, what did you gain from playing football?" And they think of me not because of whatever big game we won, but a life lesson that I taught them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
something setting them up for success, or even if they just think of me, if I tell them all the times I've screwed up in my life, and we all know I've screwed up quite a bit, right? And hopefully I can, help guide some of those guys to, hey, let's be real. A lot of those kids are also going to make mistakes and let them know, hey, it's not the end of the world. We can come back from this. It's just things like that. I've thought about that a lot. And yeah,
yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I agree completely with you. Like, I'm kind of the same way. Just how are they going to be
yeah,
after? Like, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that was all I had for you. So I really do appreciate you joining me on the BA Coaches Show.
Yeah,
This is
thanks for
the
having me.
second episode that will be out. Um, Hey, I mean, I'll just say big things coming on the BA Coaches Show. We got big things coming. I told you a little bit of what we got going on. So, hey, anytime you want to come back on here and talk, we'll come on and talk. You know,
Sounds good.
yeah, anytime you want to, I'm down. But that's all I have. Do you have anything else to throw out there to the people, Trev?
I don't think so. Um, I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us on the BA Coaches Show.